Hi, welcome to our Thursday night live broadcast. I want to welcome you to tonight's discussion. We are going to close out our week on the power of healing and intermittent fasting. And tonight we're going to close it out with a discussion on epigenetics and how intermittent fasting might be able to play a role in reversing some things that we have going on with our DNA. So if you are new, welcome. My name is Diane. If you would not mind taking a second and hitting that like button and that subscribe button, that way you will be in the loop every time we go live here or when we post some new content to either Facebook or YouTube. And always feel free to introduce yourself and leave a comment while I'm speaking, or if you are catching this in the rebroadcast. I do go back and review comments, and I would love to welcome you to our community and answer any questions that you might have. Just a little bit of history about myself. I am a 50-year-old woman, a mother, a wife. The last couple of years, I have been struggling myself with some health issues related to some menopausal, hormonal, aging changes, however you want to describe it. And I used intermittent fasting to reverse some of those things that I had going on with my body. And now I teach other women and share some information and discussion like we're doing tonight to sort of raise the conversation, or maybe have you think a little bit about some things that you have going on in your life and see if maybe some changes might be in order to help you reverse some things that you have going on. So that's exactly what we're doing here. And I always welcome you guys to this community. So tonight we're going to talk about epigenetics. It's a pretty fascinating topic to talk about, and I think it's definitely worth doing some research on and maybe just thinking about how some of these things might be able to apply to your life, or maybe they're already applying to your life and you haven't really put the two together to make the connection. So I'm not going to go into the super sciencey part of this. This is just not my thing, but I will reference an article that I have in front of me that I'm going to read some stuff off of. I always like to read directly from articles when I'm kind of quoting some things, so I make sure I get everything correct for you guys. And then I'm going to break it down into how I understand epigenetics and what we can do for ourselves, and give you guys some things to think about for yourself. So I always like to break it down into like how I understand things in the very simplest of terms. So I will let you know what the article is, and Kara's always really good about making sure she posts the link. So I'll make sure that she posts the link to the article that I'm referring to so you guys can do a little further research for yourself. And another great resource that I really like to turn to for information is TED Talks. So there's a lot of really interesting conversation going on there as far as this topic of conversation as well. So basically epigenetics is how is they define it. I'll read it off here how it's defined, so I don't really miss any part of what it is that we're trying to go through here. So they're saying that epi is in the epigenetics is derived from the Greek word meaning above or over. So it's like a layer that you can put on top of your original DNA train or chain, where you can have some influence yourself over what your DNA will end up doing for you or against you, and it is a little bit irrelevant to what it is your history is from your family. So they really talk a lot about, instead of saying, is it nurture or nature that causes the outcome with us as far as characteristics of personality, hair, skin, eyes, illnesses that are passed on generationally, is that nature or nurture? And what epigenetics poses as the question is, why can't it be nature and nurture? Why can't it be both? And that's really what the discussion about epigenetics boils down to, is that it is nature. You are born with a set of DNA. You are born with the genes that make you who you are, and it does come from your genetics. But nature also has a lot to do with it. And not only is it the nature that you were raised with, meaning what your parents did to you, for you, with you, but also what we have for ourselves and how we decide to live our life. So epigenetics can come into play as the nature and nurture. At any point in your life, you decide to do the things that can alter your DNA, which I think is absolutely fascinating, and where I really think that intermittent fasting can play a pivotal role in what we can do to reverse some things that are going on with our DNA. And we've shared a lot here and the testimonials from some women who have been practicing intermittent fasting and some of the amazing things that they've been able to do to reverse some things that they have going on in their life. We talked yesterday about Joanne, who was having some knee problems, and with what she's been doing with her intermittent fasting has indefinitely postponed her knee replacement surgery. So a surgery that hadn't had to be done. I know for myself, I had 2 instances of infertility that were totally reversed by decisions that I made to do some things with my life nutritionally, to do some things with my life emotionally and mentally, and do some things with my life exercise-wise. That, you know, we had 2 different instances where we were for a year plus trying to conceive a child and were not able to do so, and we made some changes in our lifestyle and then were able to reverse some infertility problems. So, you know, those are those things that when we start thinking about what we have control of as far as our DNA, it's fascinating what we have the power to do, and this is where epigenetics comes in. So they do a lot of studies with twins as well, in regards to identical twins, and the fact that they have identical DNA makeup, and having identical twins separated and raised in 2 different environments, and how differently identical twins can end up in life because of how their environment is different. And this is where the nature and nurture discussion really comes in with epigenetics, is that yes, we are born with a certain set of DNA, but if our environment changes, then that could in turn change our DNA outcome, I guess is what I don't know if it would be necessarily our makeup, but it would be the outcome and how our DNA ends up working for us. So fascinating research out there. I strongly recommend that you guys go and Google it, do your research, watch some videos, read some articles, read some case studies that they're doing, and then start posing some questions to yourself and what it is that we have the power to change for us. And it really can be fascinating. Of course, the things in nature that we have the power to change most of the time would be nutrition, environment, exercise, sleep, gratitude, how it is that we think about our life. Are we living a positive life? Are we living a negative life? All of those things have those influences on our DNA, and can either cause our DNA to be healthy or cause our DNA to become unhealthy. And so we really have an opportunity through our own power of choosing and our own power of becoming educated and empowered to do some really great things for ourselves and how we end up living throughout our life, which again, I think is fascinating. So I'm going to read a little bit of this article with you guys just so you can get the gist of what it is about through what they're saying in the scientific world. So there was a book that was written called Super Genes, and it was written by, I want to make sure I get this right here, and Kara, if you can find it, you can also reference it as well. But I think it's by Dr. Tanzi and Dr. Chopra, and I know Dr. Chopra is a pretty famous name. But they wrote a book about the super genes, and they say in their book, The Super Genes, that only 5% of disease-related gene mutations are fully deterministic, while 95% can be influenced by diet, behavior, and other environmental conditions. So 95% of your DNA can be manipulated by making choices about how you want to live your life through diet, behavior, and other environmental choices. I think that's fascinating. 95% of what our DNA is, or what our health is, or what our outcome in life will be, can be determined by us and the choices that we make, which I think is absolutely fascinating. And then they go on to say that you are not simply the sum total of the genes you were born with. You are the user and controller of your genes, the author of your biological story. No prospect in self-care is more exciting. So we do have the power to influence what we have going on with our health. And this is where I believe intermittent fasting can play a really key role in what we can do with our epigenetics. So we talk a lot about our energized sense of calm, and how when we're really in that clean fasted state and we are in that place where everything in life seems so peaceful, yet we're really putting ourselves in a high stress environment. We talk about how fasting puts a lot of stress on our body, but it's the good kind of stress. And when you're in a good kind of stressful environment and it brings you a sense of calm, then you really have that opportunity to do that reflecting inward, right? And we start to feel really grateful about the things that we have in our life. We start to feel really controlled about the choices that we're making. We really settle into the environment of what's going on in our body as far as healing itself. And that is really where we have the power to change the nature part of what we have going on with our DNA. And we don't have to go against what our body normally is doing. We can actually work with it and for it to control what changes are going on. So it's absolutely fascinating to know that we have the power and then we have the tool. So the power to change is just knowing that there's the opportunity through the science of epigenetics, and that it's been proven that if you change what's going on in your nature environment, that you can actually change the outcome of your overall health. And now we have a tool and something as simple as fasting. And it's funny because a lot of messages have been coming my way today after last night's discussion about, well, I'm doing absolutely nothing and I feel amazing. This is the simplest way to influence our outcome in life, to do nothing. For once, we have this opportunity to do nothing, to simplify everything, to not have to worry about micromanaging hours of our day as far as what we're doing with our nutrition or what we need to eat or prepping food or spending a ton of money. We just do nothing for a large part of our day. And we now have this opportunity to control the nature aspect of the outcome of what's going on with our DNA. And it's super empowering and it's very exciting, especially as we start to age and as we start to feel like we have no control anymore over our outcome. We now know that we do, which is what I think is great. So we talk a lot about this in our course as well, about the positive mental attitude that we have about our outcome and the choices that we're making. And I always talk about how, choosing your words wisely is really important when we're trying to incorporate change and we're trying to incorporate deep health influences in our life. That, what goes on in our brain is very powerful, even if it's in our subconscious. So we talked yesterday too, we've talked a little bit this week about Alzheimer's disease and the stresses in our life and our brain health, and how just having stressful situations go on in your life can take years off of your brain health. And so what if we really purposely and with true effort, right? Think about things in different ways. And so we change the way we're thinking by just picking different vocabulary. And we talk about the difference between starving and hunger, and really where we talk about hungry is where the magic happens, and feeling comfortable in the state of hunger instead of feeling desperate or scared or frantic about where your next meal is going to come from. We know we live in a society today where food's plentiful. So why can't it be that we're comfortable and calm in the height of hunger? And when we can really wrap our head around that thought and know that you're doing good things for yourself, and instead of being in a fight or flight type of situation, we can just breathe and be like, this is the best thing I'm doing for myself, and I'm experiencing the energized sense of calm. And even those subtle little changes about how we're thinking about ourselves and how we're thinking about our situation and the choices that we're making can really have a positive influence on what we're doing with our overall DNA structure. So choosing our words wisely, having positive mental clarity, having the ability to be grateful for the little things in life, like a water bottle. Like, how grateful I am to carry around my water bottle. I was walking around today running errands, and I was just like, I have this amazing life, and I can carry a water bottle around with me and drink water all day. And I was laughing. I came home from my appointments today and I told my husband, I said, I think I had keto breath all day. And I was like fine with it. Like I had great shoes and a nice purse and a water bottle. And I was like, if all people noticed was my keto breath, like that's their problem, not mine. Like I was totally comfortable with it. I didn't stress about it. I didn't want to get rid of it because I knew that my day today was a day of me getting some stuff done and being in a ketogenic, fat burning, body healing state, and there was no stress, and my mind was not concerned about anything negative at all. Now, it's taken me a while to get here, but it's a really great place to be when we know that we can do that for ourselves, and that's a really freeing place to be. So concentrate and practice making sure that you're using the correct words when you're describing yourself. Again, something like the scale can be that thing that could really take you out of that opportunity to control your nature environment. And a lot of times, you know, I get messages from women that say, I know you told me not to do it, but I stepped on the scale and now I'm super stressed out and I'm super bummed out and I feel like I'm wasting my time. And those thoughts right there are that thing that take you into that place that just creates that complete DNA restructure and can cause you to go into that place where things aren't going to work in your favor. So if you know you're the kind of person that if you do a certain activity and if the outcome isn't what it's going to be, you're going to go into a negative place, then you have to really train yourself and create habits that you don't go there, because those thoughts and those panics and those, you know, fight or flight type of hormones being released in your body over time are the things that really start to reprogram us and cause us to start having those DNA structure changes that aren't going to be in our favor. So another thing I wanted to read from this article that I think you guys are going to be fascinated about, because this is what we do as intermittent fasters and how we're kind of living our nutritional lifestyle. And it says that, not surprisingly, diet can affect the health of your DNA. Well, we're not surprised about that because we know we're reversing some things with our DNA with what we're doing with our diet. It says a diet high in refined carbohydrates promote high glucose. So we know too, with some of the things that we're going through as aging women with our insulin resistance, and a lot of us are in that pre-diabetic or diabetic state, which is all caused by our body's inability to really manage what we're doing with our carbohydrates and causing our blood glucose levels to go high. So that affects our DNA. But it says, on the other hand, if you put things in your diet that are rich in nutrients, and we talk about nutrient dense foods here all the time, and we're not naive about what nutrient dense foods are. I know we kind of want to make excuses sometimes about our choices, but we all know what nutrient dense foods are in the basic sense. That if we fill our nutritional lifestyle with nutrient dense foods, then we have the potential to reverse DNA damage. Now, again, that should not be surprising here in this community, because we hear stories all the time about what's happening to women who are practicing intermittent fasting and who are living a low, or what I like to call a conscious carbohydrate lifestyle, and who are implementing nutrient dense foods into their feasting window. We're seeing some amazing DNA reversal with some of the healing processes that are going on. Another thing that's mentioned that we deal with a lot here, it's probably one of the first physical changes that we notice when we start intermittent fasting clean and start consuming some nutrient dense food, and that is the reduction of inflammation in our body. And it says in here that chronic inflammation is the underlying cause of 7 of the top 10 leading causes of death, including cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and Alzheimer's disease. And we talk about Alzheimer's, we talk about diabetes, and we talk about cancer here a lot. And like I said, the reduction of inflammation is probably one of the first things, or one of the first big notices that we have when we start fasting clean. We notice that the size of our body changes, even though the scale is not changing. I know for me, I lived my whole life thinking that I just couldn't wear skinny cut jeans because my calves were too big. And then when I reduced the inflammation in my body, I noticed that I can wear skinny cut jeans. And the only difference that I made was I got rid of a bunch of water retention in my body. And I've always retained water in the lower half of my body. And I just thought genetically I had big legs. But then when I reduced the inflammation of my body by eliminating the foods that I was intolerant to, that I had been intolerant to my whole life, I just never made the connection. Now my body is not holding on to that water, and I have decreased the size of my body from head to toe. That doesn't always show up in the form of weight loss, but it always shows up in the form of just the overall look and appearance of what your body has and how your body looks slimmer, it looks leaner, your clothes will fit differently, and that's just because you've eliminated those intolerances and the water has been able to release. And chronic inflammation is that thing that is the leading cause for so many of the diseases that we are struck with as we start to age, because our body just can't take it anymore, and so it starts to break down. And that again leads to those signs and signals that we talk about a lot here too, is your body, when it's not happy with what you're doing, it sends you signs and signals, and inflammation is a sign and signal that your body is telling you that whatever you're putting into it is not working and that you need to get rid of it. And as soon as you get rid of it, the inflammation goes away. And when the inflammation goes away, you can start reversing some of those chronic illnesses that we start to stack up as we age. So it's a super, it's a fascinating article. I believe Kara did post the link to the article, so you guys can go ahead and read it. It's super easy read, so you'll be able to get through it pretty quickly. They talk a lot about the study with the twins, and it talks a lot about the nature and nurture, which I think is also fascinating. And then there was one more thing I wanted to read to you guys. I think is fascinating too. I think you guys will appreciate. And it says that one of the most amazing and controversial discoveries is that epigenetic changes don't stop with you. Epigenetic signals from the environment can be passed from one generation to the next, sometimes for several generations, without causing a single gene sequence. So it's not just us that we have to worry about. It's the people in our families, the generations that are coming behind us. We have the power to change those as well. So super, super interesting. I think that what we're doing is fascinating. I think we're on the cutting edge of science and health. And I think if we just keep powering through doing nothing for a majority of our day, we will be able to see some pretty amazing things continue to happen for us. And I think that I am a true believer that time and consistency is the key with what we're doing here. And it's not so much perfection, and it's not even so much that you have to be completely engrossed in what you're doing as an intermittent faster to where you are, sticking out like a sore thumb. I think you can casually intermittent fast. I think you can engage in intermittent fasting without people around you necessarily needing to know your business, so you're not outcasted, because I know that can be a big problem for a lot of us women, especially being outcasted in social events. And I was thinking today even about my daughter. I was like, how she is in a fasted environment without us even really trying. And it's just because I no longer shove food down her throat when she leaves in the morning. I just ask that she has some water so she can just get some hydration in her body more than anything. So if we eat dinner at 7 and she's in bed at 9, from 9 till she has her snack at school at probably around 10, she's fasting. So that is, what is that, 13 hours? That's pretty good for a young person to be able to go that long with being in a fasted state. And we don't really force it on her or anything. It's just that thing as parents, I think if we think about not shoving food down our kids' throats, or starting their day off with a glass of orange juice or a bagel with cream cheese or a bowl of cereal like we used to do in our house because we were so afraid of them starting their day without food in their system, we can give them an opportunity to benefit from being in a fasted healing state as well, even as young as they are, without it being what some people would call extreme. And I've referenced before Dr. Natasha Winters, I believe is her last name, and her book on the metabolic approach to cancer, and how in her studies, women who fast for just 12 hours a day are significantly reducing their risk of breast cancer. So what about our young daughters? What if we can teach them that when dinner's over, and you don't necessarily have to have breakfast, just have a mid-morning snack, and we could put them in a truly fasted state for 12 or 13 hours, which is just a natural way to live. What if we can reduce the opportunities for them to end up with some things that they won't have to deal with, I guess is the best way to put it, in their future, just by subtly incorporating some things for them and changing the way their lifestyle is, so that they don't have to fight things that we've maybe had to fight for ourselves. And I even think that what we're modeling with the way we, even as simple as it is, drinking our coffee, right? The fact that we are drinking black coffee or skipping coffee and just drinking more water is what our kids will see and what they'll end up modeling. And then what if they start their day with no coffee or just black coffee or just water, and they don't run to breakfast and they don't run to creamer and they don't run to all these things in their coffee? Then we've given that gift. And so that could be part of our legacy as well, and what we can do from generations to come, passing down just traditions of how you start your day. So I think it's worth some thought, and it's worth some consideration in what you're doing in your everyday life, and thinking about your family history before you, where you're sitting today, and how relative it is to the people that you're connected to genetically. Are you going down the same path, and is that a path you're happy with? Or are you the person in your life that's going to create a change? Are you going to get off the path and start your own path for others to follow behind you? And from what we can tell from the studies of epigenetics is that we can make that decision for ourselves. We can make the decision that I don't want to go down the path of my genetic makeup. I want to make a new path. And all you have to do is make the decision to do some changes in your life, to make some changes, make some subtle changes in the beginning, and then just see how it goes and see what happens for yourself. And I know a lot of you here are making those decisions for yourself with what you're doing with fasting, with reducing your carbohydrate intake, with being very mindful of what you're doing with your protein intake, and then increasing some of those healthy fats, creating a nice, long, clean fasting environment, and then healing some things that have been going on with your DNA. You will model that for those coming behind you. You'll model that for those people in your present life. And you might even model that for some people who are going down the path that you chose to jump off of. They might decide to jump on your path. And I know for Michael and I, we've had, I had grandparents, or great-grandparents rather, who had limbs amputated because of diabetes. And today, with all the education that we have and all the choices that we have, and with me being diagnosed with pre-diabetes just 2 years ago, that scared me. I'm like, how can that be? And it was just because I wasn't listening to those signs and signals my body was sending me. And so I had to make some new decisions for myself based on what my body was saying. And so I don't want to go down the diabetic path of what my family members before me went down. And Michael has some things in his family as well, and he just kind of decided he didn't want to go down that path either, and so he's made some lifestyle changes. And so now we've given our kids an opportunity to make some choices for themselves, and we hope they'll go down the healthy path and not have to deal with any of those things that have preceded us. We don't know. We hope they will, but at least we've given them an opportunity to know that their history is not going to be that of diabetes and heart disease, and hopefully not cancer, and I pray not Alzheimer's disease either. But now they have the information, and they have someone setting an example so that they can make those changes. So some things to think about that you might want to just see if you can subtly implement in your life and do some research on. So let me see if I can answer any questions for you guys, or read off your comments here. So Lori, welcome. It's good to see you here. Jennifer, hello. November 4th class. Pam, great info. Thank you from Fresno. You're welcome, Pam. Zulima, I've been IF 24 since October 12th and have lost 15 pounds. I feel amazing. I sleep like a log. Oh yeah, that's the best part. I have plenty of energy. Can't wait to see how I look a year from now. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. More importantly, Z, I want to hear how you feel a year from now. That's always the most important thing. How you look is great. I'm not going to deny that either. But man, when you feel great, there's nothing like it. Kristen, our brains are so powerful. Yes, they are. Positive mindset has been so powerful for me this week. Good for you. And then we're coming up on Thanksgiving. Like we should really be focusing on all the things we're so grateful for. And I bet if we listed everything that we're grateful for, none of that would be food, right? Like it would be our health, our family, maybe living in a home, having a bed to sleep in, all of those things are those top list of things for what I'm grateful for. None of it's going to be a turkey or stuffing or sweet potatoes or any of those kind of things. Yet that's what we celebrate Thanksgiving with, which I think is just so funky. But anyways, we'll do our Thanksgiving and we'll be grateful and all that kind of stuff. But make a list this week of everything that you're grateful for and see if you can start focusing some things on your life around that list. And see what that does for you as well. Question, does the fast window have to be at least 16 hours to get the benefit of the cell cleanup? Linda, that all depends on when your body is done with burning glycogen storage. So it all depends on how fast you get into that fat adaptive state. There's a lot of different factors that play into that. Oftentimes, if you're following a really strict ketogenic type of diet where your carbohydrates are like minimal to none, they say about 16 hours is when you get into the fat adaptive state. I personally feel best, and a lot of the women that we work with here in our course feel best at around the 18 to 20 hour window, and then some women even go like 22 to 23 hours. So my guideline with determining your intermittent fasting protocol would be to feel it out, and not every day has to be a 20-hour day, or not every day has to be a 23-hour day, but don't be so hyper focused on it. Just go about your day not thinking about food, and then see how long that turns out to be for you. And when you think about it that way, then what happens is you lose track, and then you're not hyper focused. So when I work with women who are stuck on 16 hours and they feel like they can't get past 16 hours, I always suggest that they don't talk about it in that time frame. And that's where we came up with the dinner to dinner protocol. Instead of saying a 1 meal a day or a 24-hour fast, when you think dinner to dinner, it seems a little bit looser. It doesn't seem so definite that you have to go 24 complete hours without food. Like even saying that stresses me out. But when I say, oh, I'm going to just not eat till dinner tomorrow, like that emotionally and mentally just feels a little bit more free to me. Like, no big deal. I'll just wait till dinner till I eat. That doesn't seem like too long from now, but to go 24 hours without eating is scary. So think about why it is that you want to fast 16 hours. And if you're stuck there, then try to reword it in your brain to see if you can get past it. 20 hours, the 16 to 20 hour mark to me is where I visualize the deepest healing occurring, because I know I've burned through my glycogen stores because I'm very conscious about my carbohydrate intake. And then that gives me 4 good solid hours of healing and being truly fat adaptive, and my body being forced to tap into my fat pantry to go get some energy. Where if I always cut it off at 16 hours, then I feel like I'm cheating myself of that extra time to heal. Marina, love this series. I feel like I'm healing in different areas all the time. I've been fasting since July 1st course. Yeah, it just gets better. It just gets better with time. Jennifer, I notice how much better I feel emotionally when I fast, calmer, less anxious, less grumpy. Yeah, because the hangries come from sugar, and the calm sense of what you're doing in your fasted state is because your body's burning efficiently, and it's not desperate for the next sugar hit. There's plenty of fat to burn, so it's not in a freak out mode. So when you're ketogenic, that is the trigger for cell cleanup. When you're burning ketones is when your body is really in the fat adaptive state and has the opportunity to be in a state of autophagy. So that's why we look for the fat adaptive feelings. And when, that's why when people are really freaked out about having their keto breath, I'm like, no, you don't want to do anything to make your keto breath go away. Like, you want keto breath. As much as society doesn't appreciate that, we got to let that go, because when you have keto breath, that means your body's burning ketones. And when you're burning ketones, you're burning fat as a fuel as a fuel source. And when you're burning fat as a fuel source, that's when you're also in the stages of autophagy, which is where the cell cleanup is. So we have to be really careful about where we're freaking out about things and where we want to manipulate the feelings and the signs and signals our body is sending us. Keto breath is a sign and signal that you're doing everything correctly, and we should really find some comfort and some peace there. Just drink some water, and I try to be in a ketogenic state as much as I can. Okay, let's see what we got going on here with my Facebook peeps. Angelica, welcome, girlfriend, from Auckland. Flancy from Ontario, Canada, welcome. Marcia, holiday course, welcome. You guys are gonna I'll tell you guys in a second. Miami, Florida, Anne is here. Julie Raleigh, welcome, girlfriend. Hillary from Minnesota and in the holiday course. Okay, cool. Kara posted the link to the article I was referring to, so you guys can go look at that. Pamela from Northern California in the alumni course. Yvonne, hi Diane. I gave an increased risk for age-related eyesight issues according to my genetic testing. However, my lifestyle and eating is working to my advantage. Fasting will help my eyes and health in great shape. So did you do some reversal stuff with your eyes? Because girlfriend, I would love to ditch these reading glasses. It seems like my eyes have just gone so bad. Probably because I spend a lot of time on a computer too, which I know is not good. I probably need to get those anti-glare glasses, but I would love it if my eyesight got a little better. And it's just reading. But it's so annoying. So I'm glad to hear that you have some eye stuff that's getting better for you, Yvonne. Janet from Nevada. Sandy from Wisconsin. Caught up now in holiday class. Thanks for all the great info. Had a good 24-hour fasting day today. Awesome, Sandy. Good for you. Tamara, you have made a huge difference in my life and health. I wish all aging women would watch you and take your advice. Oh, Tamara, thank you. Well, you had to do the work and you had to do the buy-in, so that part is all on you. And thanks for showing up here, because I appreciate you guys being here to listen. Pamela, love Bruce Lipton's book, Biology of Belief. Okay, so there's another great book to go look at, or maybe someone to go look up. What else we got here, Yvonne? This is a subject that's so incredibly fascinating. Awesome power we have. It feels good. Yeah, I love it. And I wish I could speak more scientifically. I probably should have taken some more science classes in school or something. I don't know. But for me, it's like I read all this stuff, and then for some reason I have this really easy way to kind of just visualize it happening in my body, and then I personally dumb it down for myself. So when I read this article and I did a bunch of research on this week, all I kept coming back to was what we're doing in this fasting environment, and how the way we're choosing to live and all the things that are happening to us in a fasted state makes sense, right? And then if you think about it, it goes back to how we were meant to live anyway. So everything that we have going on with us that seems to start going wrong is because we've influenced it, right? We've got in the way of nature and the nurture for some part of it too. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that how our life started has to be how our life ended, right? Or at whatever point in your life you make a choice to make a change, that's when things can really start to change. So, you know, I kind of referenced this very lightly in these discussions, but I had a really stressed out childhood, and I literally made a decision when I was in high school that I had to make some changes for myself. Now, that doesn't mean that once I made that change, everything went great for me. I had some stuff that I probably could have done better in my 20s and my 30s, but I've always come back to this: I can have a better life, or I can make better choices, or I want to live a better way. And for some reason, I've always had that sort of nagging thing in me. And thank God I did, because now I'm here today where I don't have that nagging so much anymore. It's just sort of who I've become. But it does have to be a conscious choice, and you have to know that you have the power to do that. And I think that's what's so fascinating about the research that's coming out today, is it confirms for us that we have the power. Like, we can make the changes by just making better choices, by deciding to live a different way, by deciding to create a destiny that's different for ourselves, and to leave a legacy that's different. And I think that's the part that's so empowering, is that we just now have the knowledge and almost the permission to live our lives differently than what we thought we were supposed to live. And that's the part that I think is so exciting and so enlightening for us, especially as women. Cheryl, it's so good to change all these antiquated ways of thinking. Yep, exactly. Exactly. Okay, cool. So anything else you guys want to talk about tonight? Hopefully you guys will go do some research. And the purpose of me doing this stuff is not to be trying to sit here and sound like I'm some super educated scientist or anything like that. Trust me, I'm not, and I'm definitely not a doctor or anything like that. But I always just want you guys to think about things. Think about how you're thinking every day. Think about what you do first thing in the morning when you put your feet on the ground. Think about, you know, do you sigh about the day you have ahead, or do you breathe in and think about all the opportunities you have about to happen for your day? And I know that those are those things that I'm constantly trying to revisit, constantly trying to refine, constantly try to get better at. And when you're in that positive state of mind and you're in a positive way of life where you're controlling what's happening to you instead of letting things happen to you that are out of your control, everything in your life becomes better. And I mean everything. And I think that's just fascinating to know that we have that power. And then what happens is a lot of other things in your life start to change too, because you start cleaning up some stuff, right? You don't want to be around people who don't think the same way you do. You don't want to have people in your life that are going to bring you down or make fun of you because you don't eat breakfast, you know, or those things in life that just after a while stop making sense to us because we're thinking in a completely different way. So your associations change, you know, where you go to eat changes, where you maybe go to church changes. Like all these things start to change for the better because you're creating the life that you want to live as opposed to just settling for the life that you fell into. And we don't need to settle anymore. We should have the power and the opportunity to create. Okay, Linda, glad that made sense for you. Gwen, about the ketogenic and getting into the state of autophagy. Thank you so much. What a great week. I fasted my cold away and didn't get a sinus infection like I did in the past. So Gwen, I always say here, when something is ailing you, fast it away. If you're sick, fast it away. If you're stressed, fast it away. If something hurts, fast it away. Fast everything away. You don't have to go days upon days of fasting. A good 20 hours of fast and a good 4 hour of nutrient-dense foods will chase anything away that your body doesn't want to have going on. It just works. So fast it away. Don't eat it away. Don't drink it away. Fast it away. Okay, we have made some updates to the t-shirt store. So for those of you who wanted last month's t-shirts, the ones that I've been wearing and I've been posting about, they are now up in the store. We decided to not make you guys wait, that if you guys want to get them for a Christmas present or ask someone to get you one for a Christmas present, they're now available up in the store. So make sure you go get those. This month's shirt, the Fast Long Feast Well shirt, is available in the 3/4 inch sleeve. And my amazing t-shirt lady or girlfriend also added in a new shirt that is a long sleeve hooded shirt that's a tri-blend t-shirt, so it's that super soft one, and it's a unisex. So you can get a shirt for your husbands who are fasting and supporting you as well. So you can get a man's shirt, or you can get a woman's shirt, long sleeve, little hoodie, or you can get a 3/4 length, or you can get the ones that we sold last year that have the hungry's where the magic happens, or it's not a diet, it's a timing thing. So all back up in the store. So make sure you go check the store out, and we'll probably prolong the sale of this one, which I know is a little frustrating for some of you because you don't get your shirts fast enough. But the way t-shirt operations work is that you have to buy them in bulk. So we can't print the shirts onesie, twosie. That would make them super expensive for you guys. So to make the cost stay where it is, I guess is the best way to say it, we have to produce them in bulk. So we usually give about a 2 to 3 week ordering time frame, get as many shirts as we can, and then we send them to the printer and then we ship them out. So I'm sorry that it seems like it takes a while for you to get your shirts, but that's just the best way for it to go. And as soon as we close out the store, then they immediately go to print and they go out to ship, and usually get them within 3 or 4 days. So we'll try to get them to you I think we're going to keep the sales open through Thanksgiving, and then we'll probably close it out, and then you'll get them before Christmas for sure. Okay, so thanks for your patience on that. Kara posted the links to the t-shirt shop. I'm going to get out of here. It's Thursday night, so we are going to get to bed early and then start our last day for school for the kids, and then we're going to start our holiday week. So I will be here most likely next week, Monday through Wednesday. It'll all depend on if we have a family outing or anything going on at evening, but we'll always put a post up to let you guys know what we're going to be here and what we're going to be talking about. If you're considering joining the course, we've changed that as well. You can start today, join tomorrow. So if you're thinking about jumping in with us, now is a great time. We're focusing on some stuff with the holidays. And if you're in the course, the holiday course or previous courses, you'll be getting some new content this weekend about feasting. I'm going to give you some feasting tips through the holidays, and we're going to talk about some holiday stressors that might cause you to eat more than you plan to. So all that's coming up. Thank you for your patience with that. We just wanted to make sure that our holiday people got through the first part of their course first. So we will let you know when the new post is up. Have a super night tonight. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope I gave you some things to think about and consider for the well-being and health of your life. Know that it is your choice how you live your life through health. And if you have any questions or need any kind of support, always feel free to reach out to us. We are here for you. Have a good night.